Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. It's the 6th of the month, which means it's time for the brand new Spellbinder clubs. I absolutely love the BetterPress of the Month club, the Poppy Greetings for January 2024. I have actually a little poppy on my arm, so I'm so excited to make a bunch of cards with this BetterPress plate. I also have the clear stamp and die of the month, which is this adorable honey and bee themed stamp set. I'm loving all of the bees for this month. I'm also new to the stitching die of the month with Spellbinders, which is this bee and floral flower design dies. You can see that the die set that coordinates with the clear stamp of the month actually cuts out some of the flowers that are on this kind of half wreath look that you can die cut and layer, or just maybe you want a few of these flowers. There's also dies to cut out all three of the bees and this cute little flower and the honey pot. Three of the sentiments have their own coordinating die. This large one that says thanks for being so sweet does not have a die, but you can definitely stamp and die cut out the rest. I went ahead and die cut out the stitching die of the month out of some cardstock in my stash. I did a black and yellow cardstock for the bee, and then for the wings, I did a shimmery textured blue cardstock. I'm getting out a couple different threads. I have the DMC Essential Metallic Thread Bundles from Spellbinder, so I'm using the white one for the wings. I also have the size 24 tapestry needles, also from DMC, so I'm just getting my needle threaded with this white thread, and I'll show you how I begin stitching on one of these bee wings. Now this smaller wing, there's only one die in the set, so you do need to cut out two when assembling together the bee. So I start by picking a hole and I thread my thread through the back side, and then I stitch into another one of the holes following the design that is etched into the paper due to the die cutting and pierced look. And then I do a back stitch for the rest of the openings, again following the design of the impression of the die. Since this is a hop today with my fellow Spellbinders influencer team creatives, I'm going to go ahead and just finish off this wing and the rest of the wings and bee off camera, but let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more details of how I do the stitching for these dies. Once I have finished going through all of the openings and following the design of the wings, I'm going to go ahead and double knot the thread on the back side of the wing. Once I'm done with this, I'll continue on to the rest of the wings as well as adding in details to the bead. I will switch from a shiny white thread to a yellow gold metallic thread to do the bee. I just really wanted the wings to look very shiny and more clear, and then my bee will have gold details. This has been really fun to learn over the last couple months. I'm really enjoying the stitching. I actually watched a season of Fargo, or I'm watching Fargo right now, so I was able to watch and stitch at the same time, which is really nice. So all of my pieces are done. Let's move on to getting our cotton card panel. This is in Porcelain in A2, and I'm making sure that the stamp with the flowers and the bee are going to fit onto my panel with my bee, and then still plenty of space to do the sentiment. So I'm going to assemble my bee, as it will need a little time to dry because I'm going to go a little heavy with the adhesive. So I'm gluing the antenna to the back of the head, so just the little antenna pieces stick out. And then I'm going to add adhesive to the back side of my yellow pieces to glue on to the black bee. Now for this first piece, I added adhesive to the back of the yellow piece. I think it took a little bit longer to adhere to the black cardstock this way. And because there is texture and dimension there from the thread being behind the die cut piece, I have these little clips that I just keep in my stash to help apply pressure while I work on something else. So for the second part of the bee, I actually put the adhesive onto the black cardstock and then attach the yellow. I'm not really sure which one is better. Let me know your thoughts if you have worked with stitching dies before. What do you think is the best way to attach these layering pieces together when there's thread in between the two pieces of cardstock? So while I finish clipping on the yellow pieces to stay in place. I wanted to talk a little bit about this hop today. We are just a bunch of spellbinders on the influencer team for the monthly club subscriptions. This is not a hop affiliated with Spellbinders anyway. We're just a few of the creators who like to get together and show you inspiration. So while you wait for your club pieces to arrive in the mail, you can get some ideas and get excited for your package to arrive. You can find a list of everyone who's hopping down below in my description, and I hope you hop along and have a great time. I can't wait to see what everyone else creates, and I'd love to know which product you're most excited for. So now I have an idea of my layout. I will have room for my stamp. I'll have room for my bee. I'm going to grab the thank you sentiment from the BetterPress plate of the month, and I'm going to do my best to get it centered onto my panel. I'll grab my system and I'm going to get my sentiment using the grid in place, and then I will use the BetterPress black ink for this card. I'm also going to use some of my yellow tape to keep my panel in place while I run it through my Spellbinders Platinum machine. I will say that I added the tape behind my sentiment and I shouldn't have done that. I wish I would have added it a little lower because it added a little too much pressure when I ran it through the machine, having that extra layer of that tape, but it didn't end up ripping, and I trimmed my tape so it's actually still behind my panel when I glue it to my card base, but the sentiment looks fine. I just knew that if I tried to take off the yellow tape that my card panel would tear. So my recommendation is to make sure that you don't have any tape where you're going to run your panel with the BetterPress plate. So now that my sentiment is in place, I'm going to stamp the floral and bee kind of half wreath stamp from the clear stamp set of the month. I'm going to use my Misty to help with this, as this is a little bit of a textured cardstock as it is the cotton panels, and I'm going to stamp with Onyx black ink from VersaFine. I will stamp twice to make sure it has a nice clean and crisp image, and I'm using a pressure tool to help with that as well. I'm going to grab my super fine clear embossing powder and completely cover the image. And once I'm happy with the coverage, I'll warm up my heat gun, and then I will melt all of that embossing powder down to give it a nice glossy finish, which also allows me to do some emboss resist with Distress Oxide. So once my background has cooled down from the heat gun, I'm going to grab Wild Honey Distress Oxide and one of my Dome Phone applicators from scrapbook.com. I'll pick up the color and I'm going to start from the bottom, as I wanted to have an ombre look, going from the darker ink on the bottom of the panel and lightening up on its way up towards the top. When I'm happy with the coverage, I'll go ahead and clean up my desk, and I'm also going to grab some Opal Color Pigment watercolors. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the kind of yellowy shade of the Opal watercolors in this set, and then use a fine brush to pick up that watercolor pigment and splatter it all over the panel. Definitely a lot of shiny yellow and black on this card that also just coordinates with the paper that I use for my die cut bee. My bee is now dry, so I can work on the card assembly. I'm going to grab a top folding A2 card base so I can attach my panel. Because I'm worried about it ripping behind the sentiment, I'm going to add my strong adhesive to the card base and then add the panel onto the card front. Now we're ready to attach the bee, so I'm going to grab some foam adhesive as I want my bee to be popped up on my card. I'm going to start with adding just a little bit of foam adhesive towards the circular end of the wings, and then I will attach them behind the bee, which will be also attached with foam adhesive. So where the bee will attach to the card, it will flatten out the pointy parts of the wings and just give them kind of a 3D look as it extends out towards the card, as those ends are popped up with foam adhesive. So once I get all 4 wings added with foam adhesive, I'll work on adding one wing at a time behind the bee to my card base. So I'm going to start with adding one of the smaller lower wings towards the right of the bee. So I'm just going to work on placing, making sure that they look even and centered to the bee. I definitely had to use the guide to make sure I had the intent of these dies placed correctly, but I think it turned out really cute when I was done. So before I really pressed the wing down, I wanted to make sure it looked good with the top part of the wing and that there was plenty of room to attach it as well. Once I had the right wing down, I added the left, and then I added the two top parts of the wings. I used some black foam adhesive for behind the bee, just in case there was any visibility through the holes of the stitching. It would show black instead of blue, and then I attached the bee down. I really love how this card turned out, and I think it's a great collaboration of the BetterPress plate, clear stamp and die, as well as the stitching die of the month. Let me know what you think, and again, what your favorite product is from the new club release this month. You can find the link to the next hop participant down below in the description, and I hope you have a lot of fun seeing all of the different inspiration today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!